reputation of giving all the right ingredients, uninhibited, in exposing the hard, cold facts about the Watchtower Society.
Well, hello everyone, and welcome in to the 6 screens of the Watchtower conference call programs. Well, tonight we have got Dick and Constance Borghi exposing the Watchtower. Well, my name's Rick Farrer, and I'm here in Massachusetts at the control panel. And friends, I have to tell you, there is so much to talk about when it comes to the Watchtower organization. They are one of the most destructive and dangerous organizations on the planet. And every Saturday night for the last 20 years, really, we have been experiencing people coming in from all over the world to talk about their trek in the Watchtower. So let's bring Dick and Constance on right now and say hello to them. Hello, Dick. Hello, Constance.
Rick.
So there you guys are. So we got an audience here already. A lot of people already coming into YouTube and Facebook and our radio network. So tell the folks out there in YouTube and Facebook and on the radio network, tell them about what's going on in South Carolina today.
Well, in South Carolina, we got 4 to 6 inches of snow, which I'll probably have to shovel tomorrow. That's why I'm glad I kept my snow shovel, but maybe I'll be real super lazy and just stay in the house. And Tuesday, it's supposed to be in the 50s. So if that's true, all the snow will melt and I won't have to shovel. So I don't know, depending on how lazy I get. But we're very, very thankful that the audience has tuned into our program, and hoping that the fireplace would have a nice cozy effect on everybody. And instead of thinking about the cold, icy snow, you can be thinking about the fireplace. We got a little sign above it. It says, "I love you to the moon and back." So you can change the words a little bit. We love our audience to the moon and back.
We do.
So we're very, very thankful is what I'm trying to say, that Rick let us have this program so that we can cast a bright light into the darkness of the Watchtower and maybe relieve a lot of suffering that people are going through that are in the Watchtower. Yeah. It is a cult, it is destructive, and it's just absolutely inundated with hypocrisy.
Mm-hmm.
And
maybe we should sit back a little bit.
Okay.
There. Maybe you can see us better, Rich. I don't know. Rick, can you see us okay? We're just trying to adjust the screen.
Oh, yeah, right there is good. Right there is very good. Yep.
Is that good? Okay.
Yep.
Okay, I'm wearing my Watchtower hat, 6 screens of the Watchtower. Want to see it? Okay. I think that's all I can see in this screen is my mustache. That's all I can see. So I'm wearing a 6 screens ball cap. Already. So to get started, I just want to talk a little about Stephen Lett, governing body member. He made an announcement that Jehovah will protect his people at Armageddon. Then another governing body member came on. This is all on YouTube, so don't think I'm just making this up. It's on YouTube. You can see it right now. You get another governing body member. Forget his name, but he's the bald-headed guy with
the black eyebrows.
Yeah, the big eyebrows and
Weagle or Wiener or one of them.
Something like that.
Yeah, he's a new one.
He's one of the new guys, one of the new liars. one of the new liars. Anyway, he's on there saying that probably Jehovah will protect his people at Armageddon, but it's not guaranteed. So you get 2 governing body members saying just about the same, one is saying Jehovah will protect you, and the other is saying Jehovah won't protect you. So where the truth lies is anybody's guess. But the truth isn't in the Jehovah's Witness organization. When I was a JW, everything that we studied pointed towards Paradise Earth. That's all we talked about. Armageddon, Paradise Earth, petting the lions, and the fruit would be beautiful and the vegetation would be great, and it's going to be absolutely wonderful. No more pain and suffering. The former things have passed away. Revelations 21:4 and so forth. So we grew up on that.
Right.
Well, now they've switched because they can't push the narrative any longer. Armageddon's around the corner. Although Stephen Lett did a video, it's still on YouTube, saying we're in the last days of this wicked system of things. Then it's the last hours of this wicked system of things. Now it's the last seconds of the last minutes of the last seconds. You've heard it before.
Mm-hmm.
All over again. This is what he's preaching. But is that what the Watchtower is now preaching? No, they're not. They're saying that it probably won't happen in your lifetime.
Mm-hmm.
And to prove it, they've got construction sites costing billions of dollars of your donated money. And that building site won't be completed till 2030. And they plan on using that building for decades after that.
Mm-hmm.
So does that sound like, to you, the audience, does that sound like we're living in the last seconds? Or does it sound like, they're going to be making adjustments to their theology and what they've taught? Now, they can't turn around and say, we were wrong about this or we were wrong about that, because then there'll be a mass exodus. So it's like that frog in the pot.
Right.
You put him in lukewarm water, he doesn't jump out. And gradually you change the theology. They're really experts, with semantics,
Mm-hmm.
And what things mean and what they say. They're hoping that people will forget what happened in 1975 because,
Or that they weren't born.
yeah,
They have no clue.
That's right. So they're changing from being very optimistic about paradise earth and how wonderful it's going to be. Now they can't beat that drum any longer because
Right.
people are deaf to it. So what they've changed to is survival at Armageddon, that the government is going to turn on them. They're going to put bayonets on their rifles. They're going to charge into their houses. And they're going to be hiding in the cellar, hiding in the attics, and that they have to stay close to Jehovah's organization
Right.
in order to survive.
Right.
So they've gone from the very positive paradise earth to surviving.
To being loyal to the
Yeah,
organization,
but
100%.
they just want these people to stay in, keep sending you contributions, keep going to quick bills.
Mm-hmm.
So they can sell off more Kingdom Halls. It's weird, they sell off 2 Kingdom Halls and then they build another one. So it's weird the way they do it, and people aren't catching on. But thank God for like Rick Farron and John Ledger and our friend up in Canada, Fern.
Yeah, right.
And many more. I haven't. Those two kind of stand out in my mind, especially John Ledger. If you have any doubts about what we're saying, we're kind of like, you tell us how you feel. That's kind of what Six Screens is about. It's an interaction between the audience and the hosts.
Mm-hmm.
The John Ledger stuff and Fern and so forth.
It's pretty much one way.
It's one way, but they're explaining things. And that John Ledger, he should have been an attorney. He would have been.
He's so good.
He is really, really
He
good.
does about 1 or 2 YouTubes a week.
Yeah.
He reads all the Watchtower literature and then dissects it and then has his YouTube channel.
If you have any doubts about what we're saying, you gotta click into John Ledger and JW Examiner and
Well, he's ex-JW Analyzer. That's
Yeah.
John.
yeah.
Yeah.
And he's excellent.
He is.
There was an elder on YouTube. You probably know we watch a lot of YouTube, and there's a lot of good content about Jehovah's Witnesses and how they work. He had an elder who was being interviewed. 17 years he was an elder.
Mm-hmm.
And talking about one of the major points that we bring up a lot is sexual child abuse.
Mhm.
So what he was saying is that we know about the 2 witness rule. What we didn't know, and this is what was explained, this elder explained it, if a person goes to an elder and said, I want to confess a sin. And, okay, what is it? I raped a 9-year-old girl. All right. It's sad. It's pathetic. It's wrong. It's immoral. It's perverted. Okay. He tells the elder, the judicial committee.
Mhm.
According to this elder who was in for 17 years, who sat on one of these committees,
Three of them.
three of them,
Three of them.
he said, we couldn't disfellowship him because of the 2-witness rule.
Right. There was no two witnesses.
Yeah,
to
so
verify.
evidently that 12-year-old girl was not in the congregation, maybe a relative in another state. I don't know. The video doesn't say,
Mhm.
but they could disfellowship him for raping a 9-year-old girl, even though he confessed it. That's according, and this is current on YouTube right now. You can see it for yourself. We don't make this stuff up. Sometimes we get accused of that, but we don't.
No, we don't.
And why I find that to be interesting is that I confessed, most everybody knows this, unless we have some really new people. I confessed to immorality in the late 80s. I confessed. Well, they disfellowshipped me because I told the elders I committed adultery. Okay, I did it. And they didn't say, well, who else saw it?
Mhm.
Do you have another witness to it? I couldn't even remember the woman I did it with, a fling.
So they didn't ask for, like, what are the two witnesses, is what
No.
they're saying.
No, they just just on my omission,
Yeah.
not omission, admission that I did this.
So the two witness rule seems like it only applies in certain situations, huh? Especially with child sexual abuse.
Well, Joe Dyer said it the best.
Mm.
Just depends
On
on
the
the
group of
elders you
elders.
get. Joe
Yeah.
Dyer, if the audience doesn't know,
Mhm.
was an elder for 12 years, sat in on a lot of these things. And he was telling us that one elder, anytime there's a judicial meeting, a judicial committee,
Mhm.
he always raised his hand to volunteer. He wanted to be on every single one.
Not Joe, but this one brother.
Not Joe, but
that was
this
in his,
that he
in
told
his
us about.
congregation.
And he always voted to disfellowship, no matter what it was. Always, disfellowship them. They broke a rule.
He's on a power trip.
Yeah, he wanted to be.
And Joe was a JW for 49 years and an elder for 12 or 13 years.
Mhm,
We've had him on as a guest a couple of times.
mhm.
Yeah. So Joe basically said it depends on the group of elders that you have in your congregation.
Well, it does. And, I've mentioned it a few times.
That's really important for people to hear that, Rick or Rich.
Well,
Yeah.
they write a book,
Mhm,
Shepherding the Flock book.
mhm.
It changes every couple of years. You have a guideline for judicial things. It's called the Bible,
Mhm,
but they write their own Bible,
mhm.
and it has precedence over the Bible. It's there.
The New World Translation
It
is
has.
what you're saying?
Yeah, it
Yeah.
does. It has.
It does.
And it was like, if the Bible says something, well, see this book, Shepherding the Flock.
Oh,
this is-
shepherding the.
This is what we're going by,
Right.
especially when it comes to judicial stuff.
Well, it's all about rules and regulations and policies and procedures. That's what it is for the elders.
It is, and it's about politics too.
It's politics. Sure it is.
If an elder says to the body of elders, listen, brothers, I've been carrying a sin with me for 5 or 6 years now. I cheated on my wife 6 years ago. Well, you did. Well, we're certainly not going to disfellowship you because you're an elder. And if it's been more than 5 years ago and you still have the respect of the congregation, well, you know what? Shh, don't tell anybody. Because one of the questions, anytime you get involved with anything, and anything's judicial,
Mhm.
first question I ask you, who knows
Knows
about it?
Right.
Right?
Because it's all about image.
All about image.
Watchtower is all
Exactly.
about image. You realize
Exactly
that,
about
where
image.
you're in.
Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah, and who else knows about it? And if other people know about it,
Mhm.
then that's a serious problem. But if they don't in this situation, Rich, that you're talking about,
Mhm.
and he's an elder, right? And it's after a certain period of time, then the elders sort of sweep it under the carpet,
It-
right?
it can
Do you
be.
want to finish
If
that?
if you still have the respect to the congregation.
Yeah.
Well, how do you judge that? Is a barometer that you can use? Is there some kind of instrument you hold up in the air and say, does brother so-and-so have the respect to the congregation? And there's a meter, a needle or something.
Mm.
That's crazy. It's ludicrous.
Mm, mhm,
You know?
mhm.
I mean, if the congregation knew that this brother was sitting in judicial meetings and disfellowshipping people for adultery when he himself was an adulterer,
Oh, yeah.
I don't think they would have respect for him.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
I mean,
Joe
that's,
had that going on in his congregation at
Yeah,
the time, remember
that's
that?
right.
And
Yep.
then shortly thereafter, that brother who was on the judicial committee meeting, slamming down the hammer, like maybe about a month, 2 months, 3 months, maybe at most,
Mhm.
then it was revealed with his sin, and then he was disfellowshipped. But in the meantime, he was judging everybody else, acting like he was self-righteous.
So what I would say to anybody in the audience is, if you've sinned and you're an active JW, PMO, as we might say,
Physically
Do
and
not-
mentally out. Chemo?
yes,
Uh-huh.
do not take your sins to the elders. Take it to Jesus. Pray to him. Pray to our Heavenly Father. Ask for the blood of Jesus to be poured all over you. Confess your sins and do your best not to reoffend.
Right.
If you go to the elders, they will ruin your life. I never thought that my elders would disfellowship me,
Mhm.
because I confessed, but they did, and it was all political. I didn't want to be an elder. I stepped down from ministerial servant, and I was complaining about a lot of things in the congregation.
Yeah.
And I was also complaining about being swindled out of $40,000, which is a lot of money back then.
There are a lot of different issues going on.
A lot of
Rich.
different issues.
Yeah.
And instead of, I became a pariah in the congregation, at least to the elders, to the elder body
And the circuit overseer.
and the circuit overseer. So,
They don't want you to speak up.
they don't want you to complain about other elders. They don't want you to complain about what I saw was a lot of unfair things in the congregation.
Or financial things, financial situations where brothers borrow money
Yeah.
and then they don't pay it back. And, you were directly affected by that. And Rich had 2 mortgages to have to deal with. And he kept talking to the elders and saying, I want to speak to the circuit overseer. They didn't want to hear it. They did not want to hear it. You almost lost both homes.
Yep.
And you had 2 boys and a wife to support,
Mhm.
and they really didn't care.
No, they don't.
Mhm.
The one thing, it's a hard pill to swallow, but it's a pill that you're going to have to swallow. The governing body doesn't give a damn about you. Not a single thing about you. They don't care about fairness. They don't care about honesty. They care about 2 things: making money, having you build kingdom halls, and having them sell off 2 or 3 kingdom halls while you're building one.
Mhm.
They care about the money, and
And all the free labor, Rich. huh?
all the free labor. And you know
Everything,
what?
even the meetings, even the talks, going out in service, all the responsibility the elders have and everything. They really don't care about people.
There's so much perversion in that organization.
Mm.
And if you're a pedophile, what better place to go? Most of the audience knows I used to study the Bible with the elders asked me to study the Bible because I was pioneering at the time with this young man. And he told me that he was a pedophile. I didn't really know what a pedophile was till much later.
This was probably like in the 70s, Rich, or would you say 80s?
Yeah, in the 80s.
In the 80s.
In the 80s.
So you had your 2 boys at
I
that
had
time.
my 2 boys, and
Mhm. And pedophilia wasn't something that,
I didn't know what it was.
in the organization back then.
No, I asked an older brother, as a matter of fact. So I think because it was pronounced pedophile.
Like the
Yeah.
Europeans.
The Europeans
So they
pronounce
say.
it that way, pedophile. So the guy pees his pants, or
Mm.
he's incontinent, he can't control his bladder, or
Mm.
whatever. So I had the wife put a towel down on all the chairs and So the crust fell that seats that we had wouldn't get destroyed. But anyway, he told me that pedophiles, they know who each other are, whether it's they go to places and they meet up,
Wow.
or they have signals they give each other, kind of like
Wow.
the Mormons and stuff.
Oh, you're talking about the Freemasons.
Freemasons,
the
Freemasons, that type of deal. And he went and told me, all the different pedophiles. We had 5 at the time.
He told you who the other ones were?
Yeah, he did. He did. And I mentioned it to one of the elders, and they confirmed that. And one of them was a branch overseer, and he was either Argentina or Brazil, who was in our congregation. Rick knows what I'm talking about, but yeah, he was molesting his daughter.
Wow.
His daughter.
Yeah.
And the wife worked with me at Wang, and she used to sit with me at lunchtime.
Mm-hmm.
And she'd tell me, the elders aren't going to do anything about stuff like that. Yeah.
She was the wife of one of the pedophiles?
Yeah.
Okay.
He was a branch overseer. The number one guy in either Argentina or Brazil, one of those South American countries.
So in Watchtower world, she was very elite, and he was very elite, right? As far as status.
Yeah. Well, he did get this fellowship. Well, but it wasn't for that. It was for other stuff.
Wow.
But
And she stayed married to him, as far as you know?
No, they divorced.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I
don't know really honestly how any wife could stay married to someone who's a pedophile.
Yeah.
I mean, you're just as sick as he is to be with him.
For sure.
Yeah.
The point I was leading to a point. The point was, if you are a pedophile, what better place to go and look for victims at the Kingdom Hall? Because everybody thinks, especially if you have a position like elder or servant, oh, these positions were made by Holy Spirit, and the Holy Spirit would never appoint a pedophile. Well, you know what? We're finding out today that that's certainly not true.
There's a lot of elders who are pedophiles. Not all.
Look in Pennsylvania. It's not hard to be an elder or a servant. You don't have to get college credits. You don't have to pass exams.
Well, there's no background check. There's no background check.
No background check. So,
to be an elder. What I was going to say for people who are new that are listening, welcome to our show. But I was going to say that you could go on a website called Silent Lambs, plural, .com. It's Bill Bowen. He was an elder in Kentucky. And you go on his website. Hopefully it's still up and running. I hope so. And he has a list of the different pedophiles and their jail sentence, or their prison sentence, I should say. They didn't just go to jail. They went to prison. And it even has some of their pictures and gives background information on who they are. You'd be shocked. And why it's so prevalent among the JWs also, Rich, that there's no background check.
Yeah.
But that's a real no-no. Because whenever you're around children and families, you should have a background check. But the other thing too, I was going to say, is the witnesses are very naive, and they use the Bible as, well, this is God's spoken word, and we're just so puritanical. We're just so theocratic, but we have God's Holy Spirit. Nothing like that could ever happen in Jehovah's house. Well, it's not only among the witnesses, but it's among the boys club, girls Scouts. I mean, anytime
Little League Baseball.
Oh my gosh, Mormons. I mean, it's very, very prevalent. But our attention is among the JWs.
Well,
they hush it up.
No, I agree
That
with
makes
you.
it worse.
They're very.
The problem with the structure, and I think any born-in will back me up on this one. They dress us up like we're little adults. And they have no Sunday school with a licensed, bonded, background check person to run the Sunday school.
Right.
So from the time we're born, we're in a kingdom hall with adults dressed like little adults. We're not given the respect we should be given as little children. We're expected to be at an adult level. And even those of us that are gifted, we were still children. So that's part of what it makes it's so easy for the criminals. And then
Right.
they
like
recruit
that.
within the prisons.
Oh, yeah, definitely, Pixie. Yeah, I like that, because you were born in. Yeah, it's very
That's a
true.
really good
It
point.
is a good point.
They recruit out of the prisons. And it's, it's quite a setup. You're, let's say a ministerial servant goes into a prison, he gets credentials, he gets to study with somebody. Now, this guy's coming up for parole in a year or two. So what does he tell the parole board? I found Jesus, or I found Jehovah. I've cleaned up my act. I'm going to be a real spiritual person. I'm going to be wonderful. In prison, we all know what happens in prison. Men have sex with men. It's just the way it is.
That's a given.
When you go into prison as a heterosexual, you're going to come out probably bisexual or homo. That's probably what's going to happen. And you go into a congregation, and you're in a car group. You might say, "Well, I'm going to have some of the young boys, the young people over to my house for a cookout, a get together, go camping, something like that." And then the pedophile, he can't control himself.
Mhm.
And they're in there. So if you are a pedophile, the easiest hunting ground would be Jehovah's Witnesses. Because if you get caught, you won't be turned into the police. Now, if you get caught, and I know the Protestants, that they have churches and so forth, and they have youth groups and so forth. If you get caught as a Protestant, if the minister catches you fondling little boys or little girls that are doing something immoral, you're going to turn you over to the police.
Right.
So
That's exactly right.
if you're a JW, what the heck? You're going to get by the parole board. You found Jesus. You're going to go to a congregation. If you get caught doing something wrong, you're not going to get turned into the police.
There have to be two witnesses.
Yeah.
People who are not witnesses listening.
Right. You have to, but you can get away with stuff.
Well, and not only that, Rich, but then the thing is, when you have a pedophile, first of all, they're grooming these children, right?
Mhm.
They're grooming their trust, maybe the parents' trust, maybe it's a sleepover, maybe it's just going out in service with them, whatever. But the thing is that they groom them first. And the two witnesses, you have to have two witnesses. Well, there's not going to be two witnesses. It's going to be the pedophile and it's going to be the victim.
Mhm.
So the victim is just one witness. And that's it. You don't have a third person watching the interaction that's going on. So that's where Watchtower really utilizes that scripture in Deuteronomy, but they twist it. It has nothing to do with that. It has nothing to do with child sexual abuse whatsoever. And that's Watchtower's, you might sort of say that expression, get out of jail card,
Right.
so that the pedophiles can just not be caught, number one. So the other issue is, with other organizations, that would be turned over to the police authorities. But Watchtower doesn't do that. What they do is they have a blue envelope, the elders do, and they submit that information about the person who was accused,
Mhm.
of sexually abusing the child, someone in the congregation. And anyway, it's sent confidentially in a blue envelope, and then it's submitted to the legal department of Watchtower back in New York.
Mhm.
And then the attorneys go over it and they determine whether or not, what the results of that going to be. The majority of the times they are not given instructions to report this to the authorities. They are not. Now, sometimes it depends on what state that you're in,
Mhm.
if the state requires it, but legally it should be reported, because what happens is you go door to door. Okay, if you don't say anything to anybody in the community and you go door to door and you've got a pedophile at your door, well, that person, can be definitely grooming any of the children that are out in the community when they go door to door. I mean, they're pedophiles. They don't care if they're witnesses or not witnesses. They're out there to have sex with children. So these people are extremely dangerous. And Watchtower really sweeps it under the rug with their 2-witness rule. And that's why so many of us are advocates for children.
It's all about image.
It's all about
Image.
protecting Watchtower's image.
You know, it's crazy. One of the reasons that I confessed adultery back in the late 80s was because
I have a question here. This is Donald from Texas here.
go ahead, Don.
Pedophiles who've already been to prison and they've come out, and you know they have to register as a sex offender wherever they live, right? They're not allowed to be around children. They're not allowed to be anywhere near schools and stuff like that. So why don't the elders of these kingdom halls go on these websites that list these pedophiles on there and say, hey, we got a pedophile as one of our members, and we have children. We need to get this person out of here or away from these children because they're not allowed to be around kids.
Well, let me tell you something about the prison system. Okay. I have worked with pedophiles. Okay. I've worked in health and human services, and I've worked with convicts, and I have worked with pedophiles. And the thing is, generally how it works when you are a pedophile and you sexually abuse a child, as crazy as the prison system is, where you have murders and thieves and carjackings and everything else, they do have a code of laws among them as prisoners. And one of them is that if you do anything to harm or especially rape or molest a child, you are done in the prison system by the prisoners. Okay? You're going to walk in, but I guarantee you, Bubba's going to take really good care of you. Okay, with the other prisoners, and word travels among it that he's a pedo. And most likely he's not going to come out alive, because they don't have, I'm talking about the prisoners, they don't have any tolerance towards pedophiles, which is really interesting because, you know, some of them are very, very, they're gang members. Some of them are just very vicious people. But when it comes to children, that's a code of ethics. It's in the prisons. I'm not saying jail, I'm saying prisons.
Well, you're so right. It's ironic, isn't it, that the prisoners have a higher moral code.
When they get out.
That's an interesting thought.
A higher moral code than the Congregation of Jehovah's Witnesses. Go ahead, brother.
Yeah, but like I said, when they get out of prison, you know, each person has to register as a sex offender, right? So when they're out, why don't the elders of these kingdom halls look on the website? You know, they say, okay, we got Joe Blow here in the kingdom hall. Let me go look and see if he's a registered pedophile. And if they go on these websites that the city or the state or whatever puts up that shows who is a pedophile and that they're registered as a sex offender, once they find that out, why don't they tell the congregation that, you know, we do have a pedophile among us and we need to keep our children away from this man? Because
they should.
They're not supposed to be around. They're not supposed to be around children at all. They can't even be around.
Right.
They can't be within a certain distance of a school or whatever.
That's right. That's right. That's very, very true. But you can, I'm trying to think, it's Megan's Law. It's called Megan's Law. You can go into meganslaw.com and you can type in your city, and it might ask, you know, your city and zip code, and you will be shocked. You will be absolutely shocked how many pedophiles are in your area. And it doesn't matter where you live. It does not matter where you live. And it will list them, and sometimes it has their pictures as well. Or you go to your local sheriff department, okay? And there's a portion of that website there where you can see who's been arrested for that day and for what. But the best one is meganslaw.com. And these pedophiles are all over the world, all over the country. But see, what happens is Watchtower goes into the prisons, and the elders will start a Bible study, and, you know, and then they do come out of prison, and then they get into this kind of behavior, and it's extremely difficult to break. It is extremely, extremely difficult. And watching kiddie porn and all that certainly doesn't help. It's made it really worse.
Yeah, you bring up a really good point, Connie.
Yeah.
The kiddie porn.
Yeah.
If an elder's watching kiddie porn, he's a step away from
Sure.
a half a step away from
Mhm.
being a pedophile. Do you think they're going to delete him? Oh, no, they won't delete him.
Well, at one time they used to be reprimanded for that, Rich.
Yeah.
That used to be considered unclean.
That's right.
But now with Shepherding the Flock book, there have been so many changes. Like it's about 6 to 8 months every time they changed the Shepherd the Flock book. That's my other phone. Just ignore it. And anyway, and now when it comes to pornography, doesn't matter what kind, kiddie porn, doesn't matter what kind, gay porn, doesn't matter. Pornography. Now it's a slap on the wrist for anybody who's viewing pornography. And my question is, why would they change that? Why would they change that? Well, they change it because it's so prevalent in the congregation. That's why they have changed it. Otherwise, they probably would be disfellowshipping a lot more people than they have.
Yeah, they have these rules, and they're so structured. There's no pliable. If you go to a movie, it's R-rated movie, you can be disfellowshipped for that.
Oh, I remember that.
But the movie
Yeah.
Passion of the Christ, which was a really
Yeah.
a wonderful movie,
Wow.
that was an R-rated movie
Yeah.
because of the violence.
Yeah.
Of Jesus
Being
whipped and scourged,
Yeah, it
and
was very hard to
and the
see.
crucifixion, the blood. I mean, it was wow.
Yeah.
It was tough to take.
Yeah, it was.
But
So witnesses didn't want you to watch that Passion of Christ.
they didn't want you to go to it. It's R-rated, so you don't go.
But then it's okay to watch porn,
That's yeah.
Yeah.
right?
If you, but I'll say this: if you're watching kiddie porn, you're a half a step away from committing that heinous sin. You certainly are.
Well, because like Proverbs says, as a man thinketh, he is.
That's right.
So in other words, you feed your mind, whatever you feed your mind, whether they're positive, loving thoughts, that's who you become. If it's something degenerate, perverted, very unclean, people act on, it starts all on your mind. It all starts on your mind, how you think.
But when you mentioned the violence about the Passion of the Christ, but then they bring about the Armageddon stuff, and children get nightmares from the Armageddon.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, big time.
Good point.
Joe did, still
Yeah.
does. He's a grown man. And, people that are born in, even Pixie had mentioned that, as children, looking at the book, I guess it was Paradise Book or whatever, with all the pictures of Armageddon and the flames and the fire and people are screaming and so forth. Yeah, that plays on a child's psyche for years and years until
Adults too.
Yeah.
Because you just mentioned
Joe.
Dyer.
Yeah,
He's a very manly man.
Yeah.
He was a correctional officer in prisons. He was a cop,
Sheriff,
fireman.
fireman.
I mean, he's as manly as you're going to get.
Yeah.
And he was crying at night as an adult.
Oh yeah.
Don't do all kinds of terrible things. I don't think he'd mind us saying that
No.
on the air.
Yeah. Well, he has mentioned that.
Yeah.
But it's very traumatic. Very, very traumatic.
Mhm.
Hey,
Anything else?
can I explain to you guys why this is such an epidemic in the Watchtower organization?
Please do.
Hi, Gilbert.
This is Gilbert. See, what happens is this, and you guys would know because back in the 70s and 80s, we didn't have a thing called computers. So if you go to any Kingdom Hall, if any Jehovah's Witness that's listening, if you were to go to a Kingdom Hall that you went to all of your life, about 1 out of every 10 people, about 10% of the people might recognize you. The reason why 90% will not recognize you is because Jehovah's Witnesses are like gypsies. They're always transient people moving from place to place to place. Nothing wrong with that, but that's how it is. So let me tell you why Jehovah's Witnesses have a problem. Jesse and I talked about this. You have Pedophile Tom. His name is Pedophile Tom, and he's in Washington, D.C. And he gets this fellowship. So he says, okay, I'm leaving. But he leaves to Kansas, and now he calls himself Jose. And everybody knows him as Jose. And not one time has anybody ever asked for an ID. I know because I was an elder, and I never asked anybody for their identification. But here's the thing. when the pedophile moves from Washington, D.C. to Kansas, he knows to study the Bible with the presiding overseer. The presiding overseer is praised because his Bible student is moving up the ranks and it's just swallowing everything, right? And then next thing you know, this guy's a baptized auxiliary pioneer, and he becomes a ministerial servant in no time. Why? Because he knows how the system works. And then he gets caught again. And then he moves over to California, and then he moves to Washington. And every time he moves, he changes his name. Every single Jehovah's Witness that's listening knows that not once have you ever seen any identification from any brother, and anybody who's ever served in any capacity knows that only the circuit overseers do background checks. But Watchtower never does a background check on you. They never have.
Well,
and so it is a pedophile's paradise. The way the Jehovah's Witness religion is run. I mean, you can go to any HOA. Unfortunately, I live in an HOA center, and they're like little HOA Nazis, right? But you don't have any kind of scrutiny in the Jehovah's Witness religion. And it's that level of non-scrutiny by design that's allowed these people to flourish in their organization.
Well, yeah,
excellent point. Excellent point, Gilbert.
IDs. It's like I said, mentioned about maybe the elders need to check these websites on these pedophiles to see who is a pedophile, and if one of their people is a pedophile, then they need to either boot them out or whatever they need to do, because if these people are sex offenders, which they are, then if they're known that they are, they need to be dealt with so that they don't mess with children.
Well, the thing is that it's not really, it's the other way around. It is the pedophile's responsibility to let the congregation know, because he is on parole. He's a registered sex offender. So failure to do that, it would be on part of him. But the fact that the county government is no part of the world and Watchtower has no association with the government is real simple. They do this on purpose because the body of elders could easily go to the county and says, we need your help. Can you provide us that list? But you also have to keep in mind that just because the pedophile is there doesn't mean he's there. He's using his real name, that he was in prison. Now, I've seen letters where people are coming in from Mexico and Watchtower, and I could not, the people that showed me this would not let me take a picture or grab a copy. But I've seen letterheads from like Watchtower Mexico, Watchtower El Salvador, giving letters to, saying, hey, this guy's he has cases in our country. Be careful with this guy. And why those people have hit him, I don't know. But I learned that in 2016 and made a big deal about it in our congregation. But the point being is that a lot of these people, if you look at the news, every day people are getting arrested by ICE, and they're what? They're child sex offenders. Well, you don't think any of those are Jehovah's Witnesses that came across? So I
wouldn't be surprised.
You have to understand that. Put your politics aside. The president of the United States is telling you the truth. If you are a president of a country and you have, say, 100,000 people that you have to feed in a prison, and you have an opportunity to just let them all go illegally into the United States, imagine the amount of money that you would save as a country to just get rid of your prisoners.
Oh my gosh!
And everybody knows
MS-13.
Everybody knows this in the 70s that Cuba did this all the time. Cuba would always send over their prisoners, and they'd go to Miami. And this is common knowledge. So the point I'm trying to say is that Watchtower knows that some of these people that are leaving their country because they were in prison for pedophilia are coming to the United States. And where are they going to go? Well, they're going to try to find refuge in the Kingdom Hall to get a job and so forth. And they know how to play the part. They're going to study with the circuit, the presiding overseer. That way they can move up in the ranks and get a little bit of credibility in the congregation. Now, whether or not used or not, I'm not saying that. But what I'm trying to say is that it doesn't take rocket science. I always tease, I'm GG for GB, running for governing body. It doesn't take rocket science to figure this stuff out. If you really do love the people, if you love your congregation, if you love your religion, I mean, just a person with a basic education of common sense. Not even, you don't have to go to college to learn this. This is just street knowledge.
Yeah.
And so Watchtower deliberately turns a blind eye. And
It does.
and I have my reasons, but it's all speculation. But
I know years ago, my dad used to work. My dad was in the army, and when he got out of the army, him and my mom got remarried after 27 years of divorce. And during their second marriage, my dad worked for. I live in Beaumont, Texas, and the county north of us is called Hardin County. And my dad worked for the Hardin County juvenile detention deal.
Oh, boy.
He dealt with kids. He dealt with kids and stuff. And my mom and my dad both would do this, but they would go on the internet and look to see where where the arrest, who got arrested for what.
Yeah.
And I don't know what the website was they went to, but my mom even saw a bunch of pedophiles and stuff
Open
on
to the
the
public.
website that were listed.
Public information.
And it was all public information, something. And why don't these elders go on the internet? All they have to do is, pull out their little keyboard, open up their little laptops, and look on the internet, and voila, there they are. They're all located
Maybe
there. They know
Gigi.
where they are.
Maybe Gigi would like to answer that. Gigi, would you like to answer that as far as since you had been an elder? Are you still there? Gilbert?
yes, I'm here.
Would you like to just answer what Donald was asking if you heard it?
Go ahead.
Why don't the elders just go look on the websites for where the pedophiles live, and if they have a pedophile in their Kingdom Hall that's near that area where they are, they can see it right there. The pedophile doesn't even have to tell them. It's on the website. It's on the internet. All the elder has to do is just pop out their little keyboard, open up their little laptop, and there they are.
Because it's so
I
simple.
think
This is so simple to answer, because every time an elder tries to have a bake sale, a party at the Kingdom Hall, he does anything that's outside, he gets shot down. The elders have they really don't have any power. They just follow orders. And the moment one person gets an idea, they tell them to sit down. Think about it. Every time an elder has an idea, let's do this, like they get shot down. So what you just described is an idea. No, why don't you shut up, sit down, and when the circuit overseer comes, maybe we'll let you talk. These people are sick. That's how they would talk to you. I mean, they really don't care about your ideas. They'll give you a title, they'll give you whatever, but
Gilbert,
this by
I used to
experience.
wonder.
That's very
I used
interesting.
to wonder, and I really didn't believe in a devil, even as a born-in witness kid. But after looking at those famous files yesterday and today, I think the whole world is lying in the power of the wicked one.
Correct. And I'm going to prove it to you. Look at what we're coming to find out is everybody in Washington, D.C. is connected to the Epstein files. And everybody in Washington, D.C. does drugs in government. Because why? All of the people in power do not have to take drug tests. But I do. Because when I deliver oxycodone to a hospital, they made sure I have no history of anything. The Jehovah's Witnesses do not have their elders take a piss in a cup. They don't even know if their name is John Smith. They don't have a fingerprint on any elder. What I'm trying to tell you is this is by design. If you open up a business and you deliver oxycodone legally to a hospital or to a pharmacy, you're going to be anally examined. But the Jehovah's Witnesses will have Bible studies with kids, and no one takes a blood test for drugs. No one has a fingerprint card. Nobody can prove that with 2 or 3 forms of identification that they really are Rick Farron. How do I know Rick Farron is Rick Farron? Well, there's a lot of witnesses to it, but see, that's the whole point. We know Rick is Rick, but in a congregation, you don't know if Rick is Rick or Borghi is Borghi.
Right.
My church where I go to, and we're a very small church, we have probably no more than 30 or 40 members max. We actually do a background check if someone wants to do, even work in a nursery. Our church will do a background check on that individual. And we're a small, little bitty church, and we do a background check on people before we let them even watch our kids, or watch people.
Well, it should be. That should be the case, because the priority
Yeah.
should be
The
protecting the
Watchtower
kid.
doesn't do that.
Right. Because
Yeah.
the kids are
The
not
Watchtower
important to
doesn't
them.
do such things.
Okay,
Why do you
can I
think
tell
they
you why
discourage
Watchtower does that?
children?
Because you remember how back in the 80s we used to get the record player and used to get the record and used to play it backwards? Because the message is by playing it backwards. I'll give you an example. The Jehovah's Witnesses have a Bible called the New World Translation of the Holy Scriptures. If you play it backwards, it's the Holy Scriptures translated by the New World. There's the answer.
Oh,
So,
that's a good one, Gil.
Yeah, very good.
That's really
So,
good.
so let me answer your question. If the Jehovah's Witnesses do not run all of these background checks to help
Mhm.
out and protect the children and the mothers, then play it backwards. The reason they don't do it is because they're protecting Watchtower. You protect
Yeah.
Watchtower by not doing this.
Hey,
Right.
Constance.
So
Well, remember,
I know a lot of people listening are
Yeah.
Jehovah's Witnesses, and they might need me to repeat this slowly again.
sure,
And
sure.
if that's the case, press 1. Just kidding. Okay, I was just joking.
I
But
did
Well,
understand, Constantine.
Okay.
It's RJ.
I was just going to say something though, please. Just during like Hitler with the Nazis and the Jews and all that, remember there was that expression, something to the effect that by not saying anything at all about the evil that was going on with the massacre of all the Jews was evil in itself, because there would be people say, oh, I don't want to get involved. I'm not Jewish. It doesn't concern me, stay out of it, whatever. And then there are other people say, oh no, you need to say something. And then there was the group of people that just kept silent. And they knew it was wrong and they didn't say anything. That in itself is very,
They were complicit.
very complicit.
Yeah.
When you could have done something to help people. And they, that's evil.
Mhm.
So Watchtower's attitude, and this isn't something that just started. Barbara Anderson said this started way back in the 40s. And then there were, even for witnesses listening, I hope you're sitting down when what I'm going to tell you is that, believe it or not, there were governing body members who were pedophiles. You had Leo
Absolutely.
Greenleaves.
Yeah.
You had
Chitty.
I think of a Chitty Bang Bang. That's how I remember his name. Chitty.
And that other guy, who was a governing body member.
That Barbara talked about.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get him mixed up. Yeah.
I
I forget his name. It'll come to me. So there've been about 3 of them.
that we know of.
Yeah. Why do you think Watchtower doesn't want to turn over the database to Zolkin? Okay, it's going to blow the cover of how many pedophiles from the top down are pedophiles in this
If I
organization.
could just add one thing here.
Yes, go ahead.
We talk about the Watchtower not protecting kids, but even when I was out, one thing I noticed, like I didn't think about it when I was in, was they have like no programs for kids, or they have no nursery. They have
Nothing.
no Sunday school.
No.
If kids were loud at the Kingdom Hall, they would just hit them. They
Oh,
had
yeah.
nothing for the infants and the babies.
Right. And it's hard for little ones to
And
sit
that's
there for
different
2
than
hours.
other churches.
Yes.
Because
Oh,
other
absolutely.
churches have like a separate nursery, or they have
Yeah.
Sunday school for 6 to 9 year olds. Witnesses don't have any of that.
No, they don't. They don't. They don't at all. Nope, it's very true. And they don't really encourage families. I mean, we grew up in the generation before, right before 75, Rich and I did. And, God forbid somebody wanted to have a family. You got married. Why would you want to have a family? 75's coming, the end of the system.
Yeah.
So they really discourage, even today. Rich has 2 grown boys. They're between 45 and 50, and they don't have children. Watchtower's the same way. They don't really encourage families for a lot of reasons. One is that if you have a family, kids are expensive.
Yeah.
That means that means less money for Watchtower. Okay, Watchtower's looking out for themselves. And Raymond Franz, when he left Watchtower in 81, he and his wife Cynthia, they had been missionaries in the Dominican Republic and so forth. And that was one thing that he had said. He was very sorry he didn't have a family. So Watchtower, takes a lot from people. Takes a lot.
Speaking of taking a lot from people, these brothers, they go to Bethel thinking like in the 70s, even 60s, thinking, well, Armageddon's going to come in a decade at most.
Yes.
I'm going to be here. I'm going to be protected because I'm in God's house. I'm in Bethel. Jehovah will protect me, so I'm going to stay here. And then after Armageddon, I'm going to live for eternity on paradise earth. And that's their thinking. Well, guess what? They spent 30, 40 years in there. Now they're showing the door. They've got no pension. They get no Social Security. They don't have any real training.
No marketable skills.
Yeah,
Not in the real world. They don't have.
So they have to take these, working at McDonald's, flipping hamburgers and stuff like that. They have no training.
You want me to go into what I was going to say?
Yeah, go ahead, please.
Okay,
Can I cut in there?
What's that?
The thing that got me was I had family members and they had a ball. They had a blast being a witness. Like they had, like my grandma and grandpa, they had like pictures. They would have they had a drama, like they hosted people at their house and they had the drama in their back room of their assembly at their Kingdom Hall. And they just had all this stuff going on. And my cousin, he had, friends being a witness, and they had all this stuff going on and all that. And it's like they say in investing that, like an advisor will say, well, past results don't equal past results don't equal future returns. And when I got in there and when I started doing everything, I noticed all these voids and I wasn't having a good time and there's all these problems and I just didn't need to be a part of it. But I was still thinking of the experiences of others that I knew, and I thought something was wrong with me. But, times change and different people come in and out and you're not going to have the same experience.
Right. That's true. Well, before 75, there was so much of a push for the young brothers to be in really good standing, to get their hours in, to be pioneers, to be in good standing in the congregation and so forth, to give up any kind of career outside of Watchtower or being a Bethelite or even going to college. It's like, why would you waste your time going to college? Because the system's coming to an end. So these young brothers, 18, 19, 20, if they were selected to go to Bethel, at the time when we were in the 70s, they had to do a 4-year stint, 4 years. And I've always said, I knew a few brothers in my congregation, and when they came back, they never really said anything about how wonderful their experience was at Bethel. So that was sort of interesting. But what I wanted to bring out, which Rich just tied in, so they give up everything. They start, say, basically at the age of 20. And there were some that, did this volunteer work for 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 years. But what I was going to say is then Watchtower had many of these people leave. Okay, they downsize, and now there's some of them were commuter. That's another experience. Commuter Bethelites where they just went in and out, commuted. They weren't living there. But this is the point that I really wanted to bring up. I was looking at Reddit, and you can check this out for yourself. This was just a couple of days ago. And the topic was the brothers and sisters and the elders that are in their mid to late 50s who never put in anything into a pension because they were at Bethel, or, they're regular pioneers, regular pioneers for many years. And now they're telling themselves, what are they going to do in their old age now? Okay. When you get to like your mid 40s, that's midlife. A lot of people have a midlife crisis. It's really true. It doesn't matter if it's a man or a woman, they have a midlife crisis. And you start to realize, oh my gosh, and then you hit 50 and it's like, wow, I've been on this earth for half a century. Time is going by so darn fast. Well, if you've invested so much time in Watchtower and you never really had a career outside of Watchtower, and this is really true. A lot of these brothers and sisters and even former elders, when they start to get, like I say, mid 50s to late 50s, because there are people that retire at 50. There are people that retire at 55. There were people who retire at 60, 62, 65. Okay. I was with the city and county of San Francisco, and if somebody had 20 years in, say if they started at the age of 30, they had 20 years in, we're talking about, of course, full time, they could retire at 50. And they could have a pension, they could have their full-time benefits, medical, dental, and vision, and a pension. Okay, they got 20 years in. So this was the topic that was discussed. And there is a brother, I've seen him, he's an ex-JW. His name's Logic Man 12. I hope he's listening. I really do. It's a very, very sad story. But anyway, he had been in the organization for many, many years at Bethel and in the organization as well. And he and his wife, of course, they got married. And he got to a point where he had put in so much time. He was in from the age of 20 at Bethel, and then he left about age 50. So that's 30 years right there of being a Bethelite. And then he left, not quite sure all the circumstances, but I'm just picking up with his comment. And basically he thought, oh my God, I'm 50. What am I doing with my life? And this is the point. Armageddon never came in 75, okay? Because everything in our life was put on hold. Rich and I know that firsthand. Mm-hmm. And everything was put on hold. We're not going to get old. We're not going to grow old. We're not going to get sick. The new system's going to be here. We're going to live in paradise. And so I didn't really need to worry about a career or an education. And now it's like, I'm 50, which I never thought I would make it to 50. Okay. And the new system's not here. So it's like a reality check. Okay. So what Logic Man number 12 said, he said, so he left about 50, maybe 55. He's now, this was 2 days ago. He's now 66. He's a little younger than I am. And he's 66. And this is really sad. He works 4 hours away from where he and his wife live. And he didn't say exactly what kind of work he does, but it's, he has no education. He had no career. And it's 4 hours away. And he puts in, do you remember, Rich, how many hours he said?
It was a lot.
It's a lot of hours.
Yeah, 8 to 8, wasn't it?
Pardon me?
8 a.m. to 8 p.m.
Oh, yeah, right. It was 8
12 hours a
a.m.
day?
Yeah, 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. So he's working 12-hour days. And I remember seeing a couple months ago, he works 6 days a week. So that's Monday through Saturday inclusive. He only has 1 day off. And, you can't afford to commute back and forth because there goes your income because of gasoline. So he's living in this concrete slab of a building, sleeping there, that his boss owns this building, and he sleeps there on the ground, probably like in a sleeping bag or something.
Yeah, probably.
And, he's thinking, oh my God, I will never be able to retire. Never. I don't have any Social Security built up. I don't have any 401. I don't have any medical. Oh, and that's the other thing. That's the other thing, Rich. He said that between he and his wife, he has to pay $1,400 a month just for his medical. $1,400 a month. And of course, medical expenses keep going up, up, up. So he said,
but you know what, you guys, you can darn sure bet the governing body has their money.
Oh yeah, they have all their benefits and everything.
And their retirement.
They're sitting on Happy Street, And it's very, very sad because, they have nothing. And he said, I don't really have much time left in my life. I'm 66. Who knows how long any of us live, right? That's only God to decide that. But he said, I know I will have to be working the rest of my life. Oh, and then he's been with this employer for 5 or 6 years.
Mhm.
And he said, now I finally have 5 days off. So he said, that's all I look forward to is having 5 days vacation that would be paid off.
Mhm.
That's it. That's all I have. So what's so sad about this is that, you can never go back in time and say, I wish I coulda, woulda, right? It doesn't work that way. And it's very, very sad. Now he's one of many JWs. Okay. There's brothers and sisters, there's elders that are in this situation. Okay. Because they put their trust in this organization. There's another situation, another example. This guy, and this is on Reddit. If you go on Reddit, you'll see the thread, the conversation. And it was 2 days ago. And this person's name is Consideration Waste 63. And this person is a guy, and he says, I was 20 years old and I was working at a major corporation that had a pension plan. And he would have lunch with an elder and a ministerial servant. So I guess they all work together, or they would just get together for lunch type of thing. And he said, the elder and the ministerial servant, they did their best to shame me for being in this pension plan that the corporation offered.
Mhm.
And as it showed, quote, a lack of spirituality, that if I believed it, that I would ever need to have this pension plan in this quote unquote old system of things. Now we know that, right?
Mhm.
I mean, I remember back in the day, why do you waste your time going to college? The new system's just around the corner. 75 was just around the corner. So what this Consideration Waste 63 did, he said, so I dropped out of the pension plan. Now, let me just tell you how this works. Let me just stop you for just a minute. I had worked at Bechtel for about 3 years in my early 20s. And when you got to be a certain age, it was really a great plan. If you put in so much money into like a savings account, Bechtel would also match it. And that was something you could do with every single paycheck. And as time went on, you would really have a nice little nest egg. Well, this reminded me of something very similar to that. So what this person did, he said, so I dropped out of the pension plan. And he said, I went to human resources, which is your personnel department. And he told him, I don't want my pension plan, just stop it. And the guy looked at him like, are you kidding me? And he said, yeah, I'm not kidding you. Just, cancel it. So it was canceled for about 8 years. And this Consideration Waste 63 continued to stay with this major corporation, for many years. And he said, after 8 years, he woke up and immediately he decided, I'm going to sign up for it.
Mhm.
I'm going to sign up for it. So he went to his HR department and he said, I want to re-sign up, however you say it, sign up again for the pension plan, which they did. And then he said, so today, now this person is retired. He's been retired 16 years. And he said, because of that 8-year gap, he said, I lost about $700 a month in my pension because of the 8 years of stupidity, right? He listened to Watchtower.
Same Joe.
Joe said the same thing.
Same thing.
So with Joe, it was even worse. So this person says, I still get a reasonable pension, but without it, retirement would be a real struggle. And he said, I feel that the JWs who bought into the governing body's life draining advice, he feels for them. See, the governing body members, they don't care. They don't care. They're not going to be paying your bills. They're not going to be paying your pension. And today, everything has gone up. Everything.
And
has
they know
gone
they're
up.
lying to you,
Yes.
They come up with
Yes.
this overlapping generation. Armageddon's right around the
The
corner.
governing
and then
body
they go-
doesn't care if you die of a lack of blood transfusion.
No, they
Factor
don't.
that in. Factor in all the people that they don't care about.
Right. Right. That's very true. Pixie, what was it that woke you up?
Yeah,
I
they
mean, I
don't
knew
care
you had
about
older
anybody.
parents, but what was it, Pixie? Was it anything that you can share with the audience that really woke you up? Maybe 1 or 2 items? Because you were born in.
Well, I could write a book. But when the Bible study sister tried to extort our house,
Mhm.
that's when my mother, past 100
Mhm.
years of age and sharp as a tack, told her,
Mhm.
"Depart from me, I knew you not, you worker of iniquity."
Amen.
I love that.
Wow.
Yeah. I love that, Pixie. That's awesome. Yeah, they're very greedy. It doesn't matter. Yeah, they do go after the elderly people too. You've
Mhm.
always talked about that,
Yeah.
Rich. So,
Senile. People like
or if
that.
they have dementia or Alzheimer's, oh my God, just sign right here.
Yeah,
What am I
you're giving the
signing?
money to Jehovah's organization.
Mhm.
And guys like Jeffrey Jackson's driving a Bentley, and they're all driving expensive cars, living really, really well.
Mhm.
That's where the money's going. And it's also not going to the black hole called worldwide witnessing work.
Oh, yeah.
It's going to pay off pedophilia
Well, the lawsuits,
convictions.
huh, Rich? The
Lawsuits, that's
Well,
where the money's going.
Yeah.
They're
Yes.
still taking care of tight pants Tony.
Oh yeah, yeah. They were smart.
Oh.
You remember him?
If the world's
The
gonna
Hawaiian
end,
brother.
why are they still building on Ramapo? What's going to happen when the world ends? There's not going to be anybody left to build Ramapo.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Hey, you know what, we're all going to be able to joyfully witness the tower crumble because, the Norway hearing, that's the last stop.
That's coming up.
Yeah, that's in the fifth.
Yeah, so let's hold back and pay attention and just watch in glee as this nasty, evil tower of Satan crumbles.
Yeah.
That'll be the first domino to fall.
Mhm.
And that'll be on the 5th of next month, right around the corner.
5th of February?
Yeah, February 5th.
Mhm.
That's when they have it.
That's
And
right.
if that falls, all the Scandinavian countries will probably follow their lead.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that'll be a domino thing. And you know what's going to happen after every one of these governing body liars, professional con men,
Mhm.
they've got a place to go. They've got, I don't know, it's Argentina, just like the Nazis, when they were losing World War II, the rats left the ship and they had other places, other identities that they took over.
Mhm.
And, they found them in Argentina and
Oh, yeah.
Brazil and so
Oh,
forth.
yeah. Yeah.
And I'll bet you anything. I'd stake my life on it. That they know it's coming. I mean, that they can see they're holding on for dear life, but all the pedophilia, all the lawsuits, the internet, all that stuff is showing the Watchtower up to be filthy, stinking, rotten liars, hypocrites.
Yep.
And it's showing them up. And they've actually said at one time, if the Watchtower falls, it'll be because of the apostates. They've actually said that. But I'll bet my life on it, that they have money stashed away in some bank in Brazil or Argentina,
Switzerland, Rich.
or Switzerland,
Yeah.
and they're going to change their identity because they have the money to do it,
Yeah.
And when you go looking for them, they're not going to be around
Mhm.
because when the Watchtower falls, it's going to fall fast. And right now, it's standing on one leg. Go
Like
ahead,
the
brother.
insurance company's rich, they'll rename themselves and take off with the money, and they don't update the prior policy holders. And guess what? Oops.
Mm-hmm. They're all about the money. It's nothing more than a corporation. And we're really trying to do our best
Well,
to
like I
expose
always
them.
say,
because
you guys,
people are wasting their time. They're wasting their time being a part of this corporation.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
I said, you guys have heard me say it before. That organization is Satan's excrement.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah,
It is.
definitely. Definitely. There's no genuine love or God there. You won't ever find it in this organization.
Just so many lies. If you pick up the Truth book,
Mhm.
the Truth that Leads to Eternal Life, the little blue one that came out in 1966, they never mention the word disfellowshipping at all,
Or disassociation.
or
right?
disassociation.
None
Either
of
one.
that. Or shunning.
They're shunning.
None of that. We
They
both
say-
studied that book.
They say if you find yourself in some kind of distress because of a sin, you can you can be your choice. Go to the elders and they'll comfort you and they'll set you straight. No, if you sin and you don't tell the elders, they're putting this, you're the Achan in the congregation, and the Holy Spirit will be taken from the congregation, and everybody will die at Armageddon because of you. That's the real deal.
Then
But they don't tell you that. They
Yeah,
don't
or
tell you that.
snitching on one
Or
another.
they
Yeah.
say the catch-all phrase, leave it in Jehovah's hands.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's
When they don't have an answer, that's their excuse.
when the elders don't want to deal
Yeah.
with
Well,
something,
I'm wondering,
right?
you guys, what I'm wondering, you guys, is when this court case comes up next month, what if Watchtower wins that? What happens then?
Oh, then it's going to embolden them. Oh,
Yeah.
it's going to embolden them.
Yeah.
That is a
Everybody's
possibility.
watching. You
I
can.
mean, I'm
That's
not
for
going for
sure.
Watchtower at all, but I'm saying, that could happen. I mean, the Supreme Court could just agree with Watchtower.
You're right. Got a good point.
What they're doing is they're trying to hedge their bets on this one. What they're saying now is, if somebody goes to the Kingdom Hall, we'll talk to them.
If they're disfellowshipped, you're talking
Yeah,
about? Rich?
this is all about shunning and
shunning.
disfellowshipping. Okay. So if you walk into a Kingdom Hall, they can say, Brother Borghi, it's good to see you. But it looks like they're taking a step in the right direction before you walk into a Kingdom Hall and you're disfellowshipped. Nobody can talk to you except an elder,
Elder and his wife. And all I can say is hello. Nice to see you.
Not now, but
Yeah.
back in the day before this rule came out 11 days after they got a reprieve on the court rendering. So
Yeah.
they said, well, we can talk to them. I mean, we don't not talk to them, but all it was is just to say hello.
Yeah.
So what does that say? Where does it say that in the Bible?
What's interesting, you guys, on this whole disfellowshipping thing, and I've heard them say this, oh, well, they shunned us. In other words, they're saying that the person that left shunned the Watchtower. But what these courts seem to really look into is this is a policy. This is in their documentation. This is all through their literature. All through their literature. I mean, everywhere through it. All in different watchtowers all over the place. It's all the way through their religion that if you talk to a disfellowshipped person, you risk being disfellowshipped yourself. So
that's right.
Of course, Watchtower's going to say, well, they disfellowshipped us. We didn't disfellowship them. But that's a lie because it's all in their literature. I mean, it's all throughout there. It's all in their videos. Even the videos they took down. Okay, big deal. They took it down. But guess what? That video is still out there. It's still on the internet. It's still, just because they took it off of jw.org doesn't mean it ain't still out there. If they really think that because it's off of jw.org and that nobody else can see it, they've got a lot of thinking to do, because that video, that shunning video, is on YouTube. It's all over the place. And it's out there. So what they lie about, they can't really continue lying about because it's all out there. Everybody's got it. Everybody's got that information. So
that's right.
They can't lie about it. Even though they try to say, well, they shunned us. Nope. It's in their rule books. It's printed material. They got it in their printed material about what disfellowshipping is.
Well, was that, I think you're referring to, Donald, with regards to that young girl, like a teenage girl, maybe 19, 20, she was disfellowshipped, and she had to leave her parents' home, and then she ended up calling her mother, and the mother was at the kitchen. Yeah. And the mother wouldn't pick it up. She would not pick up the phone at all.
That video,
and they think that's a loving arrangement. Oh my gosh.
Just because they say it's loving doesn't make it so. They said a lot of things.
That young gal could have been in serious trouble, and yet How could, I mean, really serious trouble.
Yeah.
Okay. Something could have seriously
Oh, yeah,
happened.
she could have
And
been
she needed to
easily.
reach out to her parents. And yet the mother saw the phone call was from her daughter. She totally ignored it. I mean, I don't know how anybody
Totally
in the
ignored
world could ever do that to anybody, but especially your own child or anybody
I was
that you
thinking,
love
if
as
I
your
could,
family.
talk to that mother, if I was there at that point when that phone rang, I would have said, "Woman," I said, "how does that sound like Jesus? What you're doing?" I said, "Would Jesus not answer the phone?" I said, "If you're claiming you follow Jesus and you didn't pick up that phone, then you're lying to yourself because you're not following Jesus.
Right.
Jesus would have
That's
answered the
very
phone."
true. That's very true.
Amen.
Well, he was with the brokenhearted.
Mm.
He talked to the prostitutes. He talked to the tax collectors. He talked to everybody. That's why the Pharisees hated him.
I gave comfort to
There's
To everybody.
not a single place in the Bible where Jesus. I'd love to get a governing body member to show me anywhere in the Bible where Jesus disfellowshipped somebody, because they can't prove it because he never did.
Well, what about the time when Peter denied him
There you
3
go.
times? You didn't see
Yeah.
Peter being disfellowshipped for that.
They throw him off the
Nope.
apostle list or
No,
what,
no. Jesus asked him 3 times, "Do you love me?" And then, when he came back, one of the first things he asked is, find Peter. I want to talk to him. He didn't disfellowship him. He was all about love. Or what
Yep.
about the woman that committed
No, it's all about
adultery,
love, and that-
supposedly?
So,
And
Watchtower's
then
lying.
all the Pharisees wanted to stone her to
Don't-
death. And Jesus said, I don't even judge you. And he said, just go and sin no more. I mean, you talk about genuine love. He knows that so many people are broken today.
Mhm.
So what right
Oh,
do
yeah.
the governing body members have to think that they can supersede the love of Jesus?
Well, they act in place of Jesus. At least they claim they do.
They want people to idolize them.
You know, the
Yeah, well,
Jeffrey
they always do
Jackson.
that. I think most of the witnesses do that, whether they want to
Oh,
or
yeah.
not. But
Oh yeah. They want complete loyalty and
Hey,
they want people to idolize them. They just
You
do.
know, when Jeffrey Jackson was at the Royal Commission, they asked him about disfellowshipping. And his answer was, talk about fooling around with the English language or semantics.
Semantics. Yeah.
He goes, we don't disfellowship anybody. They disfellowship them themselves. So I would always say, well, if I disfellowship myself, can I reinstate myself? You know?
I like that one.
Yeah.
yeah, see, that's just it. He knows. See, that's why. And Jeffrey Jackson, when that judge there had that Shepherd the Flock book, he did not want that guy to look at that book. He knew.
no.
Jeffrey Jackson knows what's in that book. He did not want that judge to use that book because he knew what was in that book.
That's right.
And that's how you catch them in their lies. Because if they're really the truth, if they claim that they're really, really, honestly the truth, he would have had no fear of that judge looking at that book.
That's right. Or, Angus Stewart was the attorney who was questioning him. And Angus Stewart.
I was thinking he was the lawyer. I was thinking he was the judge. Okay. Sorry about that.
Yeah, he was the attorney. He was the attorney, and he had asked Jeffrey Jackson, because Jeffrey Jackson is Australian, and he went back to Australia to go visit his elderly parents. So he was on a Zoom call. But Stewart had said to Jeffrey Jackson about basically, do you think that your organization is the true organization, the one and only true organization from Jehovah God? And the question was clear as day.
Mhm.
And Jeffrey Jackson said, oh, well, that would be so presumptuous of us to consider that. Well, basically his answer was no, but then that's what Watchtower teaches.
Yeah.
And I think, for people who were PMOs or, even JWs, it was like, what did that governing body member just say? That, it would be very presumptuous of us to assume that we are the true religion. He just said, he said what he said. That, no, we're not the true religion.
I grew up believing that Jehovah's Witnesses.
You know what's funny about their spiritual warfare thing? They use their spiritual warfare, what do they call it? Theocratic warfare is, I think, what they call it. But
Right.
if
Right.
they were to read their Bible and look back at when Jesus was tempted by Satan for the 40 days that he was in the wilderness,
Yeah.
when Satan and Jesus got into it over each other, Jesus used scripture. Jesus didn't lie to Satan. And, Satan mentioned scripture. Jesus told him scripture back. Jesus didn't have to lie. He told him the truth completely.
Right.
He didn't have to lie to Satan.
Right. Right.
So why
And
is
you
it
have
that
to-
Watchtower feels they can lie for it?
Why is it that Watchtower has to what?
They're proving they're liars.
To lie? Well, they are liars. They've lied under in courts.
Jesus told Satan the truth from the Bible, which he did.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
why doesn't Watchtower tell the courts the truth? Because if they claim to be the truth, why do they need to lie?
Well, because look who they're from.
Yeah.
Look who their father is.
That's right.
Look who their father is. Their father is Satan the devil, the father of the lie. Just like Anton LaVey. I saw an interview with Anton LaVey, and the church we were associated with was very interesting with Ray LaVey, who was the daughter of Anton LaVey. So anyway, just a total liar. Oh my gosh, a liar. And these people after a while start to believe their own lies like it's truthful. And then with regards to Watchtower,
it's like a
they
Canadian
think it's
court
okay
when
to
that
be able to
lawyer actually
lie,
was
that that's theocratic
Canadian
warfare,
court when they talk
right?
about-
When they wrote the
the
truth
Canadian
book,
lawyer was talking about disfellowshipping, and he said, if normal family relations continue even though they're disfellowship. When I saw that video or listened to that video, I thought, you dadgum liar. I said, that ain't true, because normal family, from what I've heard, now like I said, I never was a witness, but just from the videos and things I've watched from different people who were actual witnesses, I've heard of kids being kicked out of their homes, kids being sent to their rooms to eat the dinner and stuff. And
Donald, you need to hear the story about. Yeah, you need to hear the story about Rich. When Rich got disfellowshipped, he had his wife and he had his two boys there, and they were going to try to work it out. He and his wife, they were going to really try to work it out. And then she had a brother that was an elder, and the elders got right in the middle between husband and wife and wedged their way in and changed her mind. But anyway, when Rich got disfellowshipped, the elders spoke to you and basically said, well, you're not the head of the family anymore.
yeah, they came over and they said, you won't be blessing the meals anymore. It'll be your wife.
Yeah, in your own home.
Yeah, they control everything.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's the audacity they think they have. That's why there's so many divorces in this organization, because unfortunately, a lot of the women, I hate to say this, but they're pretty damn stupid, and they listen to the elders over their husbands and trying to make it work. It's really true. And even to this day, oh my gosh, it's the elders, Remember, Rich?
Yep.
Pam used to say, oh, the elders said this, the elders said that. And what would be your response?
They're wrong.
Yeah, they're wrong.
They're wrong. Well, they can't be wrong because they're elders. There's 3 of them. 3 elders. They can't be wrong. It's a long story. So someday I'll tell it all on 6 Greens, probably Anne Marie's program.
Well, I guess what I would like to say, I think that's why I have so much respect for like JT and Lady C, because they left the organization, but fortunately they were able to leave the organization together. It wasn't as if their marriage ended up in divorce because, the wife listened to the elders, and then the husband's wants to leave or was disfellowshipped or disassociated or whatever, Watchtower has no boundaries. They have no problems getting right in the middle between a husband and wife and the family, destroying it. Okay.
See,
that is totally wrong.
Those elders are not marriage
No,
counselors.
they're not.
They're
not.
They just go by Shepherd the Flock book. And a lot of them aren't really, like the 3 guys that disfellowship me. One guy sold Snap-on tools out of a van. The other guy was a school bus driver. And the other guy was a house painter.
Mhm.
I'm not going to try to paint them as stupid, but they're not trained. I mean, I've mentioned this before. If Elon Musk is probably the smartest man in the world, if he wasn't trained to be a pilot, would you get in the plane with him just because he had a really high IQ score? He would have no training as a pilot. You'd probably end up, on a mountainside somewhere.
Right, right.
Yeah.
So there's
Hey,
that
Constance.
status. Yes, hello.
Constance, can I answer that question as to why Watchtower can't tell the truth? And it's real simple. Do you
I'd
remember
love to hear it.
the Bible story? Do you remember the Bible story when the demons were trying to praise Jesus as they were being expelled from the animals?
Yeah.
He was expelling the demons from the animals or from the humans. And when they were trying to praise Jesus, he silenced their voice so that way the humans could not hear any praise coming from a demon. You see, the demons are not when you understand that you're not just a human being, that you're more than a human being, and you're a spirit, you realize it, you come to understand that, oh, now it all makes sense. Watchtower can't tell the truth. Just like a demon cannot praise Jesus, a liar, a consummate liar like the Watchtower, are forbidden from ever, because they've abandoned that realm. They've crossed the line. You know how your parents, your dad says, don't cross that line, son. Well, yeah, they crossed the line. And Connie, the last thing I was going to tell you is you brought up that Bible text about Jesus telling Peter, do you love me?
Yeah.
And this is just a real quick story. I actually learned this in elder school, but if you actually read the account on Bible Hub, it's real simple. Jesus asked Peter, and this is why a good Bible translation is very helpful, like Bible Hub, because Jesus says to Peter, do you have agape for me, God-like love? And the language that they used was different than the English language. And then Peter responded, yes, I have philia for you, like the city of brotherly love, Philadelphia. I have philia for you.
Like Philadelphia,
and so Jesus says, so the second time Jesus says, Peter, do you have agape for me? And Peter says, yes, you know all things. You know I have brotherly affection for you, philia. But the third time, Jesus says, Peter, do you have brotherly affection towards me? And that's why Peter got sad and wanted to cry, because he knew he didn't really love Jesus. And the reason I bring out this point is because I was showing Nadine a video of the president of El Salvador, Bukele, and he shows everybody, when a government really cares about their people, they can fix the problem. And he does. He shows people how he fixes problems. And I go, so the reason the Watchtower has these problems is they don't know how to love. They say, oh, love. No, you don't know how to love. If you really love, you fix. They have problems and they expel people from Watchtower, elderly, all the things that we talk about. But you could always boil it down to an act of love. They have no love.
No, they don't.
And that's what Peter, on the third time, he cried. So that's a beautiful story about that part of that people don't. Peter didn't get sad that Jesus asked him a third time. Peter got sad because he had abandoned Jesus in his moment of need. He wasn't there for him when they were killing him. So once you realize that you say, I really don't know how to love. You're an apostate, and you can say that. A Jehovah's Witness can't. See, they're under the illusion that they're not idolaters. They don't know how to love. They don't admit that they're sinners. But the apostates do. We openly confess our sins. We admit that we're bad people. But at least we know that we're trying to get out of the hole that we're in. The Jehovah's Witnesses, they're in the toilet and they think that this is paradise, best life ever. No. So that, I hope that explains, why Watchtower can't tell the truth. They don't love. They're incapable. They have been forbidden. And
excellent
and when
point,
you
Gilbert.
realize that you're not a human, you get it.
Well, honey, you bring up so many good points. I mean, really, really good points. I really appreciate it. When it comes to Anton LaVey, I'm from San Francisco. Anton LaVey was the one that started the Church of Satan in San Francisco. Okay, he was huge. He loved Aleister Crowley, and he followed Aleister Crowley, who was, before him. but Anton LaVey was a pedophile. Okay, he was a pedophile. He's not a very good person. The church that I went to in California was called Glad Tidings, and I've shared this story. But Anton LaVey had a couple of daughters, and Ray Ray was one of his daughters, and they basically, they meaning Anton LaVey, wanted to have her be the bride of Satan. So there were all these ceremonies that she had to go through as a child from the time she was born until she got older, and she was going to be sacrificed to Satan the devil, as the bride. You can go on YouTube and you can hear the testimony of this. Anyway, she was deeply involved in the occult because of her upbringing from Anton LaVey. Okay, so our pastor was speaking to Anton LaVey for many, many months with regards to this. There was a lot of spiritual warfare, a lot of demonic stuff. But what I wanted to say is Ray Ray now is a true Christian today. But this is the point that you mentioned, Gilbert, that I wanted to share. Anton LaVey could never, ever say the name Jesus Christ, okay, to Pastor Dave Bryan. He's the one that married us. And he could never, ever say the name Jesus Christ. He would say, JC, your God, but he would never, ever come out and say Jesus Christ. And why is that? Because the name, I get chills. The name is very, very powerful. It's very powerful. And the blood of Jesus is extremely powerful. And the Bible is very powerful. And Anton LaVey knew that, okay? And even Pastor Dave would say, Anton, he said, you can always repent. You can always repent of even all the things you've done. You can always repent and, ask God for forgiveness, and he will forgive you. And Anton, even down to the very, very end, he never, ever did repent. And he used to call Dave Bryan the preacher boy. He says, preacher boy. He'd mock him. Oh, preacher boy. He says, when I die, he says, I'm going to be elevated up in Satan's kingdom. He says, with my God, with Satan, I'm going to be elevated because of all the works that I've done. And Dave would say, really, Anton? He said, the God that you worship is the God of lies and deceit. He says he doesn't tell the truth. And you're basing your whole future on what Satan the devil has taught you. So it was very, very interesting. I wish I could get a hold of Ray Ray LaVey and literally have her come on the show and tell her testimony. It would blow your socks away. But Anton LaVey did die. He tried very, very hard to capture his daughter, Ray Ray LaVey. And Dave and his wife, Cheryl, had kept them, and everybody was praying like spiritual warfare and everything. But let me tell you, Anton LaVey was he wasn't just somebody who believed in Satan and worshiped Satan the devil. He was a pedophile, okay? And I have said this before, and I know Pixie doesn't agree with me, but I'm speaking the truth. He had sex with, let's see, Carla. He had Carla. What was the other daughter's name? There were three of them. He had sex with one of the daughters, and Taylor Swift is the child. So Taylor Swift is, Anton LaVey was her father, but Anton LaVey was also her grandfather. And that's a fact of life. That's an absolute fact of life. Yeah.
So Constance, do you see now the connection? Like Jehovah's Witnesses don't believe that when you die, the spirit lives on, and they paradise earth because they're fleshly people. And what you and I are talking about is that once you abandon that type of thinking and you realize that there's more to this human existence than what meets the eye,
right?
You start seeing things from a different perspective. And that's why the Jehovah's Witnesses have this problem. And a lot of you and I, we all are like, why can't you see this? Because they're still fleshly. This is why when he was on earth, he was trying to help you understand that, hey, yes, you're a human being, but you're also more than a human being. There's more to this body. And so he was trying to elevate the human, whereas the Jehovah's Witnesses are always trying to keep the human on paradise earth. And she's like, no, there's more. There's more. He's elevated. And so once you started learning things from the spirit, then you're like, well, you know what? I don't need to obey laws. I don't need these laws, rules, regulations. because you do
Mhm.
everything out of love, not out of fear, like earthly
Right.
things.
Right. You're totally right about that. You're totally right about that, Gilbert. Yeah. Watchtower, Watchtower rights, like Anne Marie would say, they're just inside the box. They're, following all the rules and regulations from the governing body members. And they think that's all they need to do. But you know what? They're not even real Christians. And I know that's a very powerful statement, but it's a true statement. They teach a false gospel. Those people, they think that they're going to make it to a paradise earth. It's the farthest thing from them because they teach a false
They are
gospel.
teaching a false gospel. Definitely they are.
Yeah. And, we're trying to help people in a very loving way because, wouldn't it be sad? I mean, really, wouldn't it be sad to be on your deathbed and you're down to maybe just a few hours left to live and you think, oh my God, was this really the truth? It's like that example that I had brought up with my next door neighbor who was a retired ICU nurse. And this was in Auburn, California, where I had lived. And this guy was an elder and he was up in Forest Hill, which was about 20 miles away. It's beautiful. It looks like Lake Tahoe. Anyway, when Mary Ann lived up there, he was an elder that came from the Kingdom Hall and went door to door. And she was very pleasant. Mary Ann was very pleasant. She was Catholic, but she was very kind. And she was open to listening to the witnesses. But, after a while, she says, okay, I got to go. And she started to close the door and he put his foot in the door. Talk about rude. She said, excuse me, sir, you need to remove your shoe out of my door. I need to close the door. Anyway, so fast forward, this JW, I don't know what his name was. I never met him or anything. He was an elder and he's dying. He's dying of cancer and he's in ICU in the hospital in Auburn where Mary Ann was there for 26 years. And anyway, it wasn't difficult to recognize Mary Ann because she's got a New York accent, got to park the car and go to the store, So my name's Mary Ann. And so he recognized her. And of course, she's a nurse. She's reading the chart where he's from. And she recognizes him. And he's a JW. And he's dying. And she's his nurse. And anyway, what ended up happening was after the wife left, and Mary Ann would always wear a cross. She was very proud of Jesus and, her faith. And so she's, there and the gentleman, I don't know what his name was, but he said to Mary Ann, he said, I see you have a cross. She said, yes. And he says, you're a Christian? She said, oh yeah, I'm a Christian. And anyway, he basically came to the point in his life that he knew he was dying. He was in hospice and his wife was not there. No family members were there. And he wanted Mary Ann to talk to him about Jesus Christ and what salvation was all about and, how he could repent and follow Jesus. And it's very simple. It's just the sinner's prayer. It's very simple. But anyway, when Mary Ann told me this years later, I said, hey, Mary, I bet you his wife wasn't there when he had that conversation with you. She said, oh, no. And I said, oh, yeah, you better believe his wife wasn't there. So I said, so did you do the sinner's prayer? And she said, yep. And I said, and, he was really at peace. She said, oh, yeah, he had the peace that surpasses all understanding. And then shortly thereafter, I don't know how long, but shortly thereafter, he did pass away. So my point in sharing this story with you is that, he had been an elder for many years, probably loved all the attention, probably loved all the accolades and everything. But, deep down inside, he had questions and he didn't believe it, but he couldn't fade. He didn't want the disgrace for himself or his family. And I really do believe that God brought Mary Ann, of all nurses, because there's a lot of nurses in ICU at that hospital, but he brought Mary Ann and him together, for that special moment. And I don't believe there are any coincidences with God. I believe that happened the way God really wanted it to, because, he looked at people's hearts. That's what it's all about, is a person's heart. So that's an experience I just wanted to share with you. So any more comments or anything, Rich? I think maybe we'll finish at 8 if you're okay with that.
We're good at 8 and we've got about 7 more minutes. So especially if you've never commented on 6 screens, be a great time. If anything that we're talking about interests you, go ahead. Go ahead, brother. Say again?
I'd like to interject.
Yes, hi. This is brother from Hawaii. Hawaiian.
Constance and Rich, it was
Yes.
an honor meeting both of you.
Remember?
Thank
And
you.
Rich, I want to tell you, brother, you look like $1 million, man. You look fantastic, brother.
I'm going to take you every place I go.
You look like you're my age, man. And
That's so
where'd you
cute.
get that Where'd you get that beautiful hat, Rich? I gotta get me one of them.
Where'd you get that beautiful hat?
Got this at the Rick's convention up in Tewksbury,
He was
Mass.
there too. He's being silly.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's
Yeah,
right. You were
He's the
there.
one that
Well,
treated you
That's
so-
right. You brought it
saw
up. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I gave one away, so I need to get another one.
Oh, yeah. You need to have one as a memento. Oh, yeah.
Well, we get
definitely.
2 of them. So you got to talk to Rick because we're not Rick Skeet, we're not giving them away.
I'm sure Rick still has some left over.
But Rick, it's fantastic to see you looking so great, brother. I'm going to
No.
continually pray for you.
Oh,
And,
thank you,
I just
honey.
want to
Thank
interject.
you.
This is a little bit of humor, right in line with what you've been talking about, Constance.
Yeah, honey.
But you
Mhm.
know, all the wasted time
Yeah,
that so-called faithful witnesses
yeah.
have stayed in that, God forbid, organization and Satan. And you know,
Mhm.
they come out, they don't have nothing. And hopefully they will wake up to like, my gosh, I
Yeah,
wasted so many years of my life.
right,
Where
exactly.
did they get me? It got me straight to poverty. So basically, you know, me being a GI, just like Rich,
Yeah,
you know, one thing good about the Watchtower being in it, you know, you're in a system, okay?
right,
And to me, that trained me to be successful in my government military career and thereafter.
right,
You know, you
right.
got to read their materials, you got to digest it, you got to
You follow
regurgitate their so-called way, wherever it be the Marine Corps or the Air Force, et cetera, et cetera. But
Yeah.
I think it was Andy Rooney. This is the comedy part. He said,
Yeah.
life is like a roll of toilet paper. The closer you get to the end, the quicker it goes. And
I
then
like that
hopefully,
expression.
yeah,
Yep.
hopefully these brainwashed witnesses, well, my gosh, snap out of it. But you know,
Mhm.
you're over 50. If you haven't had an income, you're basically up shit's creek without a paddle, you know?
Well, that's it, honey.
Yeah, so we got to really just feel sad for them, which I do.
Yeah, of course.
But, you know, just like you said, though, okay, Constance, I know a
Mhm.
lot of Rick LeVay. If you're smart, you're going to study satanic worship. Yeah, Aleister Crowley and all these evil people. But let's
Yeah.
go back to the beginning, okay?
Hmm.
Satan, the devil, wants to destroy God's creation, which is, i.e., the human being.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
why all of these
Oh, yeah.
abusive, especially, I would consider the Jehovah Witness the #1 top child abusive cult. Okay? And, you know, anything that is of the devil, they want to destroy the child. I mean, look
Yes.
how much
And
Satan went
families.
after Jesus Christ.
Yes.
But he's going to go after all of God's children, which is, i.e., us.
Right.
So
Because we're
once
made in
we
God's
know
image.
that,
Right. Right.
yeah, it's plain to see that Satan, the devil, wants to pervert whatever God's creation is.
Right.
And that
Exactly.
goes from the very beginning.
Right.
So I just wanted to interject that. It's been
Yeah.
a great discussion tonight, Constance.
Thank you,
Your
honey.
insights are
Thank you.
always keen. And you
Thank
know
you.
what? Again, it was an honor to meet both of you
Oh,
and keep
Well,
standing
thank you.
strong for Jesus Christ
thank you,
and being
sweetheart.
against the throes of the devil.
Yeah. Thank
Love
you,
you
sweetheart.
guys.
We love you too, honey.
We love you too.
And I was just going to say, you know, when you look at the Baphomet, just to prove your point there, brother, when you look at the Baphomet, what a Baphomet, you know, most witnesses they're not familiar with that term. It's a symbol of Satanism. And, you know, Jesus always talked about the sheep or the lamb, right? How meek like they were. Well, the opposite are the goats, right? So the Baphomet looks like, you know, the goat, it has the horns, you know, type in Baphomet, Baphomet. Look it up on Google and they'll show you a picture. And it has the horns, okay, and it has the breasts like a woman, has the genitals of a male, okay, it has both. And then in front of that statue of the Baphomet, you'll see a little boy and a little girl, right? So it's very interesting. I mean, it could be no children, it could be maybe, you know, nothing at all, but it has a little boy and a little girl looking up at the Baphomet. And there's a reason for that, because Satan comes to kill, destroy, and steal. And he doesn't care if children are used as, you know, a victim with pedophiles, or if they're sex changed or they're converted, you know, trans, they don't care, because his purpose is to kill, destroy, and steal, and to destroy families. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and Bohemian Grove and the cremation and care, sacrificing an infant. Oh, yeah.
Oh, look at Baal worship. That's what Baal worship was all about, was taking the babies, the children, and throwing them into live fire to Baal. Some people pronounce it as Baal. I pronounce it as Baal, B-A-A-L. Some say Baal. It's Baal worship, okay? And God totally was against that, you know, and it was very serious. The children were sacrificed to this false god Baal. And that's what happens today too. That's what I see. That's what I see in this organization with Watchtower. They're sacrificing these children with these pedophiles because it destroys their lives for the rest of their lives. I was with someone for many, many years who had been sexually abused, not a JW, but let me tell you firsthand, I'm telling you, it destroys a person's life and their psyche. Okay, unless they get some serious counseling, okay, for them to be able to heal from this. And Watchtower is all about covering this up. It's all about the image, and it's absolutely very evil.
You know, it's estimated in this country alone, there are 250,000 children that are missing.
That's a lot of kids.
And nobody talks about it. They talk, oh, gee, you know.
That's a lot of children.
The gross national product is this, and the Red Sox and the Yankees are doing this, but they don't talk about
where's the children?
Where's the children?
Or, you know, brother, you're originally from Hawaii. I forget which island you said. I mean, Hawaii is just beautiful. But anyway, when Maui had that fire, you know, a couple years back, what were there, 400 kids, Rich?
Listen.
Just totally gone.
Gone.
Where'd all those children go when there was that fire in Maui? How did all those children just disappear? Where are they? Okay, what happened to them? I mean, how does that happen? You're not talking about one or two. You're talking about 400 children. Mm-hmm. They just vanished. And as far as I know, they never have found them. Have they, Rich?
No.
As far as I know.
Nobody talks about it.
And nobody brings it up.
You've got an enormous problem throughout the whole world. Satan is roaming around like a lion trying to devour someone. He's devouring the children. And if you've got a young child, like 4 or 5 years old, and he's walking home from school and some sicko snatches him up, your brain is fried. And your wife's brain is fried. Where's that child? What's happening to him? You know? It's devastating, and it's out there, and nobody's talking about it.
Well, I'll just mention this one.
Everybody's talking about it today. Everybody's talking about it today.
Yeah, it's
how many news stories do you when you watch CNN or Fox or whatever? How many there's talks about what the government is doing in Venezuela and Greenland, and you know, and what's happening in Minnesota, but how many news segments are out there
Mhm.
about
It was
all
the
these
top
missing
story
children.
today.
Pardon me?
And those files, that's going to be the story that keeps on giving.
Well, I just wanted to say something because I know we're going to wrap it up, but I just wanted to say this because we do have a new audience, and maybe some of you have heard this, some of you haven't. But I'm originally from California, so this is interesting. Was very interesting to me. There was a little girl named J.C. Dugert, and she was a cute little girl. She was like, oh man, maybe like 8, 9 years of age, little blonde girl. She was in South Lake Tahoe. And that was not very far from where I lived when I lived in Auburn. That was 100 miles, about 2 hours away. But this was some time ago. Anyway, she was going to school, and I don't know if it was her mother or her father was, dropped her off and just waiting for the bus to come pick her up. And it's South Lake Tahoe. South Lake Tahoe is just drop dead gorgeous. You got the big ponderosa pine trees. You got the lake. I mean, it's like God's creation on earth. And anyway, like I say, she's about 8, 9 years of age. And so she's there waiting for the bus. And all of a sudden, the parents watching, this van pulls up. This is a true story. This van pulls up, and they open up the slider, where it slides the door. And they reach out and they grab her and they abduct her and throw her into the van. And they just take off. And the parent sees this thinking, oh my gosh, my child, J.C. Dugert, D-U-G-A-R-D, as in David. Look that up on Google. It'll tell you the story. And they take off. And anyway, years go by, and the parents trying everything to find, the description of the van. And, oh my God, where's my daughter? And, who are these people? How could this happen? Anyway, this is where it brings it home. Okay. It was a husband and wife team, okay? The wife had been a JW. I forget her name, but she had been a Jehovah's Witness. And the guy, her husband she was married to, was a pedophile.
Mm-hmm.
Garagos? I don't know.
Yeah.
Wasn't it Garagos?
Something like that.
Anyway, they left. He picked her up in South Lake Tahoe and went all the way to the Bay Area, and he lived somewhere around Albany, El Cerrito. It's just, right around Berkeley, Emeryville area. It's on the other side of San Francisco. Anyway, he had JC there for years, and she was sexually abused. Now, he kept her in the backyard, like in a tent or a little building, and she never came into the house. Now, this guy was known as a pedophile. When that brother Donald mentioned this, he was a pedophile. He was a registered pedophile, okay? And he was on parole, and the parole officer would always come however often he needed to come and just check the house and make sure, everything was up to code, and there's no kids in the house, there's no kids' toys or anything. And this went on for years and years and years. And JC gave birth to not one, but 2 children to this pedophile. Okay. Anyway, she's like, like a trapped animal out in the backyard. And neighbors had heard this story. Neighbors had heard, like noise going on, talking. And then, the baby was born, and now she's got a baby she's taking care of. And then she gets pregnant again. And then there's another baby. And neighbors were very concerned, like, there's somebody in the backyard there that's, it's something strange. Well, nothing was done about that, okay? Until one day, this pedophile, I think his name was Garagos, he had JC's 2 daughters, which were his daughters, right? He was a pedophile. And he took them to, I believe it was UC Berkeley. And he had to go to UC Berkeley for something. I don't know what. Berkeley was not very far from there. Anyway, and so there was a lady police officer. I believe there were 2 lady police officers. And they saw him coming through. And, the police officers, they can find out any information, right, on anybody. Anyway, so he gave his name and so forth. And they thought, what in the heck is he? He's a pedophile. What's he doing with 2 children? He didn't supposed to be around children. And so they thought, there's a serious problem here. So anyway, they ended up arresting him. This is a true story. And then they found out that JC Dugert had been his victim for many, many years and had abused JC. And these were her children, which were his children. Okay. So he's serving time in prison. And then the wife, who was a stupid dingbat, who had been a JW, she was an accomplice, what do you say, accomplice to the crime.
Mhm.
And so, yeah, she was in trouble legally as well. What her sentence was, that I don't know. But, you know, I just wanted to bring that out that he was never a JW, but she had been. And she was an accomplice to it. Oh, this is where I was going. So when the van came to pick up JC, okay, they opened up the door and you'd think, how in the heck did they get her in? Well, they grabbed her and they put her in there. And then they used a stunt gun. Those zappers, Rich, what do you call them? Those
Stun
stunt
gun,
gun. Yeah. They stunned her. And so does that knock you out or what's that do, Rich?
It incapacitates you. Your nerves are all shot.
Yeah. And that's what they did. And they took off. So she
Taser.
a taser, that's it.
Yeah.
So she could not run. She could not run. And she thought, how come my mother never came looking for me? Well, you know, she was a little girl. She didn't realize that she, you know, had been how many miles away? I mean, it was over 100 miles for sure. Maybe. From the Bay Area, from where I originally lived to Lake Tahoe was 4 hours. So it was a good 2 hours, I'd say a good 3 hours away. And anyway, she was finally able to hook up with her mom. But one thing that really, really worked for JC for her healing was to be able to be around horses and to have that therapy with the horses. And apparently she's doing very, very well now. And she's a grown woman and she's written a book about that. But yeah, that's the story I wanted to share with you. So.
Well, I thank everybody for tuning in to the Connie and Dick show. We're just delighted to have everybody, you know, come in and we can share, you know, we can share with you. I guess at this point, I'll say God bless and good night, and I'll turn it over to Rick.
Yeah, we love you. Thank you so much for tuning in tonight.
All right, Dick, we'll minimize that. Well, very good program. Very good program. More people were trying to come in the end, but that's good. You had a lot of people calling in from pretty much all over. We want to thank all those people that called into the program tonight, and we certainly wish Dick and Constance the best down there. They're getting some snow in South Carolina, if you can believe that.
Yeah.
So, yeah, you guys keep that fireplace lit and keep the wheels of progress moving. You're doing a good job, and we really appreciate it. Thank you, Constance and Dick.
Thank you.
Thank you, Rick, for allowing us to do this on your program. Thank you.
Well, you're very welcome. All right, we're going to end the stream there, but don't go anywhere. Friends, coming up next, we have a brand new AI video. I have not put it on YouTube yet. I have not put it up on Facebook. It's Rutherford driving his yellow Cadillac into Beth Sarim. So you want to see that. That's coming up next. It's an exclusive. It's an exclusive, and this one is going to go viral. I can tell already. It's going to be a great, great AI video exposing the Watchtower. Well, stay with us. News is next. Stay on YouTube and Facebook and stay on our radio network. And now we're going to end it right here, and we'll be with you in just a few minutes.